Welcome to the USU Career Studio podcast that helps you navigate your career path. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to tell your friends and family all about it. Subscribe to our podcast on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or anywhere else you listen to get access to our newest content. Thanks for joining us for our Friday face-to-face episode. I'm Marissa Armistead, your host, and I am so excited to welcome alum Wes Young to the show today. Welcome, Wes.
Hi, Marissa. Thanks for having me.
So excited to chat with you, Wes. Wes is an account executive for a software company called Podium, helping local business owners modernize the way they interact with their customers. Wes has aligned his passion for sales with his degree in MIS. He helps entrepreneurs have more time for their family and more money in their pocket. So, Wes, welcome. So excited to have you. How is your Thursday treating you?
It's going really good. It's been busy. I'm about to jump on a flight here in the next few hours to Palm Springs for a trade show. So super excited to be on.
Man, that sounds wonderful. Today in Salt Lake, we have some pretty dreary weather, so I am jealous.
Absolutely.
So we have to start off with your fun fact, which is back in the day at USU, you actually won the championship for flag football. So Wes, you have to talk us through the glory days.
Yes, the glory days are, I always reminisce on them. But as some of the listeners may know, or you may know, flag football gets pretty intense at Utah State.
This is a big accomplishment.
It really is. Yeah, there's a lot of fights. It gets pretty heated, but it's a fun time. There's absolutely, everybody's having a good time there. But I guess it's just something that's relevant that I thought would be fun to share.
I love it. I love it so much. Well, that's awesome. So I'd actually love to kind of dive into our conversation. We're talking about career stuff, especially kind of related to the college or the business school, I should say. And so I'd actually love just to hear a little bit of like your career timeline, like walk us through USU to your current job. How did you get here?
Yeah, great question. So I'll just start from the beginning and go through that. But, I came off an LDS mission back in 2015. I did a year at Weber State, had all my friends going to Utah State. So I felt like I was missing out. So I had to join the club and absolutely it was the best decision I could have made. So it was a great experience. I learned a ton. The classes were great, especially the professors. And it really just kind of kickstarted my career. I loved learning about technology. My degree is in MIS. And then I did the summer sales thing and grew a passion for, sales. It's just it's a great tool to, get a head start on everything. And I mean, really just being able to, I guess my transition from USU to Podium, they had recruiters reaching out to me. I had my LinkedIn profile built out and wasn't really serious about it until the last month or so of my my degree there.
Yes.
And it got a little intense, but so I actually joined Podium with the last 2 weeks at Utah State. So imagine starting with a brand new company and then doing the 19 credits what I was doing.
Oh my goodness. So, you're crazy.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot like drinking from a fire hose for sure.
Man, what a wild ride. So how did you actually come across Podium? So you said they were recruiting. Is that what you said?
Yeah. So I was really intrigued by the tech industry. Utah's booming in that, as you guys all know. But I really Podium has always stood out to me. I've seen them on LinkedIn. I'd heard about them and different things, but I explored a lot of different other companies, and it really just came back to Podium. And once again, like their recruiters reaching out on LinkedIn. I had worked with career coaches there that helped me build up that LinkedIn profile, so I'm absolutely confident that helped. But really, just kind of had a couple checklist things for what I wanted in a company, and Podium checked all of those. So.
Do you mind? Can I dig a little bit deeper? I'm really curious. Like, what were some of those check boxes that you felt like needed to be met?
Yeah, great question. One of them definitely being the growth of a company. Like I always wanted to be with a company that's growing. And this might be really specific, and I don't know if a lot of people do this or it's just me, but I was looking for a company that's, was about 100 to 200 million in ARR, just because I know that's a great position to be in before IPO. And then obviously, like, one of the best things was the culture. Like, a lot of great things. They keep it fun here. They always have events. And a lot of family oriented things and giveaways. So it's a really great company. So it just checked all those boxes. And then also, going back to my passion for sales and my degree in MIS, it just all aligned together.
I love that. And it's interesting that you mentioned like identifying good culture. And I'm actually really curious, like, do you feel like you just got lucky and they ended up having great culture, or is that something you actually sought out, and like how did you recognize it?
I actually messaged someone because I had gone to high school with someone that was working here and just asked them, like, like, how is it there? Because it definitely is something, like, no one wants to be at a company that's stagnant, boring. So it definitely was like I sought it out a little bit, but just had really great feedback from everyone I reached out to. So it definitely was a bonus.
No, I love that. And that speaks to the importance of networking, like that
Yeah,
small little reaching out to somebody, like that is networking, right? Finding out if a company
absolutely.
has good culture, that is networking. So I love that you were able to use that. I'm really curious. Okay, so you're an account executive at Podium. What exactly does that mean?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it's definitely it's sales, right? So I work directly with business owners, the CEO, CFOs, COOs, all the C's, and just learning more about their business and then driving value in our product and determining if it's a good fit for them or not, really. So yeah, it's just once again just comes down to kind of the sales aspect and helping those businesses grow with the product.
This is interesting. And so I know a lot of people, when they hear sales, are like, oh, I am not a salesperson. Like,
Yep.
that is not me. However, what you just described to me sounds a little bit more like storytelling. Like,
Yeah.
so I'm curious, talk to me about like what kinds of skills you feel like you use like commonly in this job.
So I'll tell you one thing, like, definitely sales has a bad rep, right? So no one likes the salesman. I don't like salesmen myself. But really Podium, like, allows and creates that culture of just, like, be yourself to be able to build value and determine if it's a good fit for a business. So yeah, absolutely. Like, it comes down to people skills, building relationships, and really, like, I wouldn't say that I feel like I'm selling a lot of people. Like, it's just just helping them to kind of dig through, like, what's missing in their business and how I can help them, and if it's going to be a good partnership, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I'm curious. So, Wes, if a college student came to you and said, Wes, I'm really interested in what Podium does. What are some of the technical skills that I should really be looking at right now? Like, do you have any recommendations on the technical side of things?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's definitely, like, um experience is going to be the king, right? So just having experience in whatever it is that you're going into, um and the technical skills, really, like, they'll come along. Like, any business is looking for people that are driven. They'll teach you the skills and those technical skills that you need, but if you're willing to learn, if you're willing to put in the effort, like, I believe that any business is going to take you on.
That's a really good point. And it brings another question that I had, which was, were you working during school? Did you have internships? Like, how did you kind of gain experience?
Yeah, so in my position, I did the summer sales thing. I was really successful with that, and it did allow me to pay for, like, all of my schooling out of pocket, which was a huge blessing. But yeah, definitely just having that experience of sales alone, like, couple years, like, is where people give you the shot of just like, hey, like, we trust you, and we'll teach you the along the way what you need to know.
Definitely, definitely. Well, so I'm really curious. You said your degree really was able to kind of combine with this passion for sales. So
Yeah.
talk to me a little bit more about where do you see MIS coming into this like equation?
Yeah, so it's a tech company, right? So it's definitely, like, I had a lot of classes that aligned with this, and especially I think this is what gives me the advantage as well, over what others may have here, is having a solid understanding and foundation of, like, the APIs and the integrations and stuff. Like, I know what's going on that back end, more so than what most people do, which allows me to, you know, be able to answer the questions of the customers and different things like that. Because I mean, it is something that's very important. So it definitely does help with what I'm doing.
Definitely. And maybe to draw that out just a little bit, I'm curious as you kind of like look into the crystal ball of the future as much as we can. I'm
Yeah.
curious, where do you see companies like Podium? I mean, where do you see like the real growth opportunities or like possibilities for the future?
Yeah, for the company itself, is that what we're
Hmm.
talking about? Okay.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, that's just where everything's going. I mean, just speaking to Podium itself, like before for local businesses, it was the brick and mortar. It's absolutely turned to the more digital side of things, the online aspect. And that's where like a lot of these great companies are just stepping into play and helping these guys. So it really is neat and unique to see the growth just with simple tools. Like it's nothing, we're not changing anything. It's not like something that's completely out of this world, but it's just making it easier for these companies because they have their old ways. You know, a lot of these businesses have been around for 20, 30, 50 years and they're still doing the same thing. It's all paper, different things, but it's just making their life easier.
I love that. And actually, if you, I'm putting you on the spot here, but I'd love to hear a little bit of like, I don't know, can you share an example of like a story of like a client? Again, if you're allowed to do this, I'd love to hear, how has Podium made an impact for a company?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just to kind of paint you the picture, um, I love the like what I do makes a difference because to answer that, like let me back up. Let me go. I'll answer your question and kind of give you a backstory here. But yeah, absolutely. Like I definitely had a client about a year ago that came onto Podium, and they were super skeptical. They were kind of doing things the old way, but it really came down to like, hey, like this is where things are headed. Like if you want to continue to be in business and beat the competition, like these are tools that are going to absolutely help you. So specifically like Google reviews, right? To drive those Google reviews. And I got an email from them 6 months later saying, there is no way we'd be in business right now if it wasn't for you. Like, so
Ah,
it's really cool to like make that impact for other people just because like really simple things go a long way for these businesses.
yeah, absolutely. Well, and like you say, with the times that we live in, I feel like there's very few jobs nowadays where if you don't have any tech skills, like you're behind. Like you need to have like at
Yeah.
least the adaptability to learn the skills. Like you said, you don't have to know all of them, but being able to learn those tools is really important.
Yeah.
So interesting. Well, and I'm actually kind of curious. So in thinking about students, let's say they're listening to our conversation, they're like, okay, so Wes, he's doing kind of this storytelling, but it's kind of sales, and he's sharing kind of what Podium does with people. It
Yeah.
sounds interesting, but maybe they're like, but that doesn't quite sound like the job for me. What are some like other avenues if somebody is interested in sales, but maybe they don't want to be an account executive? I don't know. Other
Yeah.
suggestions?
No, that's a great question. So there's a lot of different aspects to the sales side of things. So like my position as the account executive, we kind of went through that. There's also like the partnership side of things. So that's a lot more of like the bigger deals, like more in-depth relationship building, like going out on site and stuff. I think that would be a great path as long as like, as well as like business development, even marketing. I mean, marketing is still sales, it's just on a larger scale. So there's really a lot of different avenues for sure.
Yeah, I love that. Love that. Okay, so interesting. Well, I'd love to kind of wrap our thoughts up here by asking one final question. And as you kind of look back on all of your life experience, USU, different jobs, if you were talking to 18-year-old Wes right now, what kinds of career advice would you give to yourself?
Yeah, I love that question. Try everything and anything. Like explore your options. Like there's so much like especially at that age, like 18, like there's so much opportunity there. And I think that a lot of times we kind of cap that opportunity for ourselves, saying, I'm going to do this, or my parents have done this. My parents absolutely did not do like sales, like they did the 9 to 5 job, and it worked out great for them, right? But it just didn't seem like something that was fitting for me. So absolutely, like another one would just be find what you're passionate about, right? I know that there's so many different resources that Utah State has to offer. And I would say like take advantage of those, like meet different people, like what we talked about a little bit earlier, but networking even, and just kind of getting a feel of what other people like and what might align with you.
I love that, Chris. Wes, and okay, I know I said that was my last question, but I have to ask one final follow-up to that. Because I have this ongoing debate with I feel like all of my guests on the podcast, this idea of passion. So it's an interesting topic, and I know people have some pretty prominent thoughts in various ways, but I'm curious. So for you, you said find a passion and then kind of pursue it. Like, talk to me about what that has looked like. Like, how did you identify a passion for sales? Like, where did that come from?
Yeah, so that's a loaded question for me. I literally had like, I can't tell you all the different jobs that I had. One in particular was, like a sound engineer. At one point I thought because I love music. I'm very passionate about music as well. So I got a job where I was doing kind of traveling all across the US to set up sound systems for, like the Lantern Fest, the color runs, different things like that. So like, but then I was introduced to like the summer sales thing. I just like everybody else on campus and did that for, the summer and absolutely fell in love with that just because the opportunity that it presented financially for myself. And it's definitely like something that has allowed me to grow in so many different ways. Like, I don't feel like I could ever be stagnant in my job because it is a high like stress job, I guess you could call it. But if you're doing it the right way, like it's such a great time to grow and to always, build those skills.
Yeah. And I love that your story really speaks to the importance of trying stuff. And I know it sounds really simple. And as a college student, you're like, okay, what does that actually mean? But just like you said, it's getting a job. It's,
Yeah.
playing flag football. It's, doing all of these different things. And you just never know where those connections and those opportunities can take you. So
Exactly.
I really love that thought. Well, we'll wrap things up for today, but I so appreciate you coming on the show, Wes, sharing some of your insights. And maybe we'll have to see you again on the podcast sometime.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you having me, Marissa. And once again, it was nice being on here.
We hope you loved this episode of the USU Career Stadio podcast. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and share this episode with your friends and family.